Hello everyone, how's it going? In this video, we're going to talk about Lucid trading under the ticker symbol LCID. It has been one of the most speculated stocks in the Nasdaq. Some have said that it could be the next Tesla, while others believe that it's just going to be a giant bubble about to burst. Lucid is one of the few companies that has an actual product rolled out. And as time went on, the stock price action, along with investors' hope, went through a lot of roller coasters, and some are still wondering if this is a bandwagon that they want to hop on. In this video, we're going to look at Lucid and to see if the stock still deserves to have a place in our portfolio. If you appreciate my content, please consider to drop a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Also, please check out the links down in the description section, as every help is greatly appreciated. Currently, the share price of Lucid is trading around $7.70, as the $8 level has not been acquired in a sustained period of time just yet. The $8 level is a significant psychological milestone because it was held for a long period of time, and going back above it could encourage more people to buy Lucid shares in the anticipation of a recovery. The current volume of Lucid ranges between 10 and 30 million shares over the past week or so, which is certainly encouraging, but not enough to push Lucid to higher levels. Of course, Lucid has been a relatively fundamental dependent stock, so I wouldn't say that just the price evolution or the volume is going to affect the technical levels. But it's nevertheless interesting to notice that the $8 level remains the objective to reach in the foreseeable future, and for that, we definitely need a significant uptick in the volume. With that being said, we can tell that the interest in Lucid, while significant, cannot push the price up just by itself. I think that Lucid will need to have some additional support from both the trading and the fundamental sides in order to push above and beyond the $8 level. And for now, I would say that patience is a virtue. Lucid Motors, also known as Lucid Group, is an EV manufacturer poised to shake up the industry with a cutting-edge technology and its sleek designs. It definitely stands out with its advanced battery technology, designs, and commitment for long-term sustainability. One of the key differentiators is the battery technology. Lucid Air has significantly longer range and faster charging time. Another reason might be where the company is or who created it where that actually matters. So previously, before Lucid became public, many people were saying that the next Tesla might be NIO. However, due to regulatory and also distance issues, I would say that many people were worried that their investments may not have the best oversight. I'm not saying that SEC is perfect, but comparing to something that is right under their nose versus having to travel half the globe in order to find the operations and the market sales and so on, Lucid would present a more safer option compared to NIO. And this is what also prompted many people to focus their attention and, more importantly, their capital on Lucid. If we look at the long-term tendencies of Lucid price action, it's not hard to see that a bubble that gave so much hope back in 2020 now bursted. The market no longer wants to blindly follow the hype, because on one hand, it cannot persist on believing that the bull market, based on purely assumptions, can continue like this. On the other hand, it simply cannot afford to sustain this trend when so many obvious issues, like supply chain issues, doubts on flagship companies, doubts on demand, the end of subsidies in many key markets, the conflicts around the world, and higher interest rates attracting the capital, have been plaguing the financial system as well as the real fundamentals out there. The market has long predicted that there will be a bearish market after such a prolonged bull market, and that most stakeholders believe that it's going to be a rough patch for at least a couple of years. The market peaked twice in the past, and if the first peak was caused by pure hype, the second one was then triggered by the rollout of actual products. Lucid remains one of the more solid companies in the sector and has kept its investment value or potentials for the years to come. The main question in everyone's mind is when should they enter in the stock? The long grind to lower price levels is likely going to continue, or at least the tendency may be there. But when we look at where it might lead the stock to, sometimes they can go to surprising levels. For example, I personally don't consider that Hyliion, another EV truck manufacturer that has also made the headlines back in 2020, deserves the price that it has now. Nevertheless, the sell-off continued for years without an actual reason other than people have lost confidence and or trust and or patience with it. So the same thing could happen with many other players in the EV sector. There is no fundamental phenomenon or reasons to support those sell-offs, but at some point it also doesn't have to matter, because they simply have to believe that there will be no new money to pour in the EV sector for the shareholders to eventually lose hope and trust and patience. In terms of the financials, Lucid had a strong financial performance in 2022. The company reported revenues close to $200 million in Q3 of 2022, which is a significant increase from just above $200,000 in Q3 of 2021. That strong growth was driven mainly by the launch of Lucid Air, the company's first vehicle, which began deliveries in late 2021. Lucid Air is a luxury electric sedan well received by the consumers and also helped the company to establish its reputation as a major player in the sector. Currently, Lucid has a negative net income caused by the fixed costs and other operating expenses that should be absorbed as the volume picks up. Overall, I would say that Lucid's financial figures paint a good picture about the company, but it's also demonstrating that Lucid is lacking a little bit of discipline in terms of cost control. Nevertheless, I would say that in the years to come, they would still focus on growth rather than cost control. Now, let's also talk about the shareholder composition of Lucid, because it is something that it's quite important to determine if the company is better for trading or investing. Lucid is currently held by institutional buyers for the most part, by more than 70% of the total volume. This would suggest that the price volatility may be lower than other stocks held mainly in the hands of retail traders. One key behavioral difference between institutional and retail traders is their horizon. Institutionals tend to have a longer-term view, which focuses on the company's fundamentals and the years to come when it's not the decades to come. They're also less likely to just jump in and out of a share because they can afford to have the loss. The short interest of Lucid has been significant over the past few months. It means that more and more investors have been betting against the company's stock by short selling it. Short sellers borrow shares of the stock and then sell them in the market, hoping to buy them back later, profiting from the difference. As of the recent data, short interest in Lucid represents 7.5% of the company's total shares outstanding. This is a moderate level of short interest, but significant nonetheless. It is important to note that the short interest is not a guarantee for a short squeeze, but it's still a very important metric to monitor, because this can tell us what is the current sentiment or the vibe about a stock. It's also worth noting that short sellers very often have actual valid reasons for their bearish sentiment, and that a short squeeze, no matter how likely it seems to be on paper, may never happen. I would recommend to start buying Lucid at the current level and stretch the purchasing period over the next few months, as we do expect the stock to be on the softer side, but without collapsing nevertheless. So in other words, we do expect the stock to slowly grind up or down, and in that period of time, it would give us enough space to examine more closely whether this is a good stock to possess in the long term.